why you keep starting again every single Monday, and how to break that cycle. Hey team, and welcome to this week's episode of The Inspired Show, the show that is dedicated to helping you become the best version of yourself, mentally as well as physically. In this week's episode, we're talking about the starting again every single Monday and how to break that cycle. But before we do that, if you haven't done so already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's completely free to do so, but it means you stay up to date with every single episode we drop every single week. Smash a like on this video if this is something you're struggling with at the moment, and make sure you share this with somebody who may benefit as well. And then let me know any big takeaways from today's episode in the comments down below. We've also linked our social media pages where we post content every single day in helping you become that best version of yourself. And there's also a link to our exclusive community that's everything you need to become that best version of yourself: emotional eating toolkits, stress busting toolkits, meal plans, recipes, workouts, you name it, we cover it. So make sure you check that out if you want some additional accountability. But this week's episode is all about breaking that Monday cycle. I don't know about you, but this is something I used to really struggle with. I would be starting again every single Monday on my healthy eating, on my healthy kickstart, but I'd keep failing week after week. And it used to be really frustrating. So we're going to break down why this is happening and what we can do to overcome it. And once you break this cycle, it's going to make your journey so much easier. So what's really going on here? Well, a lot of people believe it's the food, it's the willpower, and they need to be stricter. But in fact, it's actually emotional fatigue, perfectionism, stress, and guilt. So how does this actually work? Well, a lot of us like a fresh start, and a Monday for a lot of people represents a fresh start. So it starts off really well on a Monday where we're eating pretty healthy, we're getting our steps in, we might have even done a workout, we get our water in, things are going good, things are going well. We carry that on into the Tuesday. Wednesday, we're still pushing through, but it's getting a little bit more difficult now, a little bit boring, a little bit of the same. Thursday, willpower's starting to wane, but we push through and we get through to Friday. But as Friday progresses, we're starting to get hungrier, appetite's higher, work's been busy, kids been stressful, and life in itself has just been pretty overwhelming. And by the time we get to Friday evening, this is where most people start to crack, where the wine comes out, the snacks come out, maybe even a cheeky takeaway. And what then starts to happen is we start to tell ourselves a story. Well, I've worked really hard this week. I deserve it. I've had a stressful week. I need to unwind. It's my day off. I should enjoy it. I only live once. So we talk ourselves into slipping up. And when that then happens, we then start to feel guilty after we've had the overindulgence, after we've consumed all the food, drank all the alcohol. And then we get into the mindset of, well, it's the weekend now. Do you know what? I'll just get it out of my system and I'll start again afresh on Monday. And then next week's going to be my week. So how can we overcome this cycle? Well, this is leaving us in a binge and restrict cycle where we're restricting Monday through to Thursday and then massively binging on the weekends with no real balance. So how can we break that down? Well, the first thing we need to do is we need to look at building awareness of what's going on, understanding that we are in this restrict and binge cycle, but we need to build in a flexible structure without any rigid rules, because it's the restriction, the low fuel, the stress management that is leading to this cycle. So I like to look at it two ways: the physical and the psychological. So the physical is understanding that food is fuel. When people are starting again on a Monday and they believe they're doing really well, they're actually underfueling, they're undereating. They're basically starving themselves. So there's no wonder by the time you get to the end of the week, you're absolutely ravenous. And that, combined with everything that's going on in life, is an ideal environment for you to overindulge, have a binge, have a blowout, and then feel guilty about that. So when you start your week, instead of starving yourself, we need to break that cycle and start fueling our body, giving it sufficient calories, nourishing your body, not just depriving it. So having a balanced approach of healthy proteins, healthy fats, plenty of fiber, nutrient-dense foods to start the week. Now, that being said, we can be flexible. And if you fancy something a little bit cheeky, that's totally okay as well. And I actually encourage it, because if you follow the 80-20 rule, where 80% of the time you're focused on more nutrient-dense foods, 20% of the time some less nutrient-dense foods, these are your cheeky foods like your chocolates, your crisps, or whatever you enjoy, then you're taking away that restriction and you're giving yourself that flexibility. So by the end of the week, one, you fuel your body so you're not feeling too hungry and too deprived. And secondly, because you've allowed yourself to have the foods that you enjoy during the week, you don't feel like you have to fit it in all on the weekend. So that's the first point of call when it comes to breaking this cycle. The second point of call is actually understanding when we use food as a tool to overcome what we're feeling. Because like I said, for a lot of us, we use food not for enjoyment, but to deal with a certain emotion, whether that's stress, sadness, comfort, or boredom. So it's actually understanding when and where are we using food as a way to deal with these emotions. And for some people, it could be after a stressful week. For some people, it could be when they're bored. For some people, it could be when they're around certain people in certain situations. So bringing awareness to when this is happening is super, super important. And also having things that you can do to help you overcome that. So for example, if at the end of the week, you know you're pretty stressed and pretty overwhelmed, and your normal go-to is a takeaway and a bottle of wine, can you plan something else a little bit different? Because you know you've nourished your body, so you're taking away the hunger aspect of things. And then you could plan something in. So maybe it's a pamper evening on a Friday night, or maybe it's going to meet up some friends and doing something fun, like going bowling or going to play crazy golf or whatever it may be. Just something that's going to take your mind off the stress, allow you to unwind and allow you to spend quality time with loved ones or some quality time with yourself. And when we start looking at it from a two-point of view of the physical and the psychological, then that starts to be the game changer for ourselves as well. But the most important thing is, when it comes to your journey, there are going to be times when you have to be flexible. There are going to be times when you are going to be going out and you are going to be socializing. But it's not about being perfect. It's more about being consistent. And the more consistent you can be, that can be a game changer for you as well. Now, for a lot of people, they will have more plans going on the weekend. So how can you manage that in the weekend itself? Well, remember, there's other tools you can utilize. So as well as nourishing your body through the week, you can calorie bank. This is where you're banking some calories and you can utilize them on the weekend. Now, when it comes to calorie banking, you need to make sure that you don't fall into the trap of restricting and binging. So when it comes to calorie banking, save no more than 10% of your calories, because you're already in a deficit, and the bigger the deficit you create, the high levels of hunger you're going to have and the high levels of stress in your body, combined with life, ideal environment to overindulge on the weekend. So for example, let's say you are going out for a meal with your friends, or you've got a family event or whatever it may be on the weekend, and you know that Saturday night is going to be higher calories. Maybe Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you bank 10% of those calories and then you allocate them then for the Saturday. What you then do is you look at the Saturday logically and say, right, I'm going to have a lighter breakfast, a lighter lunch that is protein and fiber heavy to keep me full for longer, make sure I'm hydrated, and then back end of the day have most of my calories alongside the bank calories, which means over the course of the week on average, you're within your calorie deficit to stay on track with your goals. Because ultimately, when it comes to things like the weekend, if people have one meal off track where they feel they've undone the hard work, they then self-sabotage. But remember, it's not about perfection, it's about consistency. And that is the most important thing. Now, if you implement these tools that help you, I guarantee you it's going to start helping you break this cycle of starting again every single Monday. So hopefully you found this week's episode helpful. If you have, let me know in the comments. If you need further help on this is the thing that we do inside our community. So make sure you check out our community link down below. But guys, have an absolutely amazing day. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in next week's episode.